You're here to
Deserve
teach
this
SEALs?
recognition.
Or did you wander
The
in from a
MVP
yoga
out there.
class?
It wasn't
Sergeant
just
Dalton
me.
Pierce
They
stands at
still
the
have
edge
work
of the
to do.
sparring mat, arms crossed, a smirk carved into his face like it belongs there permanently. 15 operators form a loose semicircle around the training area, their eyes shifting between the sergeant and the woman in the center of the mat. Lieutenant Commander Arya Locke does not respond.
shoot.
She adjusts the tape
Tell me where
around
he
her
went, or
knuckles
I
with
swear I
methodical
will.
precision, each wrap tight and even. Her posture remains neutral, relaxed shoulders, weight centered. The kind of stillness that comes from years of training most people never see. Dalton takes a step forward, his boots thud against the mat with deliberate weight. I asked you a question, instructor. The word drips with contempt. A few operators chuckle. Lieutenant Avery Knox pulls out his phone, angles it toward the mat, and hits record. Corpsman Jonas Reed leans against the wall near the medical station, arms folded, watching with detached amusement. Arya finishes taping her left hand. She looks up, meets Dalton's gaze without flinching. The technique today is defensive grappling against a larger opponent. I need a volunteer. Dalton grins. He rolls his neck, producing a series of audible cracks, then steps onto the mat. I volunteer. The semicircle tightens. Bodies lean in. The atmosphere shifts from routine training to something else entirely. Something hungry. Arya gestures to the center of the mat. Standard rules. Tap or verbal submission ends the round. Sure. Dalton bounces on his heels, loosening his shoulders. Let's see what the yoga instructor can do. They circle each other. Dalton moves first, shooting for a double leg takedown with the speed of someone who has done this 1,000 times. Arya sprawls, hips dropping, hands on his shoulders, redirecting his momentum. She slides to his back, hooks one leg, and attempts to establish control. For 3 seconds, she has position. Then Dalton explodes upward with raw power, throwing her off like she weighs nothing. He spins, grabs her collar, and yanks her into a clinch. His forearm presses against her throat. Not a choke. Not yet. Just pressure. A reminder of the difference in their size. This is your defensive technique? He speaks loud enough for everyone to hear. Getting manhandled? Arya drives her elbow into his ribs. He grunts, but does not release. Instead, he transitions, wrapping his arm around her neck in a standing rear naked choke. His bicep flexes against her carotid. She taps his arm. Once. Twice. He does not let go. The semicircle goes quiet. Knox keeps filming. Jonas straightens slightly but makes no move toward the mat. Arya taps again. Her fingers strike his forearm with clear, deliberate intent, the universal signal for submission. Dalton squeezes harder. What's wrong, instructor? His voice carries across the silent room. Can't breathe? Someone in the back laughs nervously. Another operator shifts his weight, uncertain. Commander Rowan Cade, standing near the entrance with a clipboard, looks up from his notes. His eyes narrow. Arya's face begins to change color. Her hands, which had been tapping for release, now grip Dalton's forearm, but she does not claw, does not panic. Her fingers find specific pressure points with surgical accuracy even as her oxygen depletes, and her breathing changes. 4 counts in, hold, 4 counts out, hold. Even with a forearm crushing her airway, she maintains the rhythm. Combat breathing. The technique taught to operators who expect to function under extreme duress. Cade notices. His clipboard lowers. Squeeze harder, someone shouts from the semicircle. The energy shifts. What started as a training exercise has become something else. A spectacle. Dalton obliges. His muscles cord as he applies full pressure. Arya's knees buckle. Her hands lose their grip on his forearm. Her eyes flutter. But before she goes limp, her lips move. The words come out in a fractured whisper, audible only to Dalton and perhaps the operators closest to the mat. Don't forget who I am. Dalton's expression flickers, confusion, then irritation. He maintains the choke for another 2 seconds before releasing her. Arya crumples to the mat, gasping, one hand pressed against her throat. Knox stops recording. He looks at the footage on his screen and grins. Got it, he mutters to Jonas. This is going everywhere. Dalton stands over Arya's prone form. He is not even breathing hard. Lesson learned, instructor. Maybe stick to something you're qualified for. He turns to the semicircle, arms spread. Anyone else want to volunteer for yoga class? Laughter ripples through the group. A few operators clap. The tension breaks into something that feels like celebration. Arya remains on the mat. Her chest rises and falls in controlled rhythm. 4 counts in. Hold. 4 counts out. Hold. Her eyes stay open, fixed on a point somewhere beyond the ceiling. She does not move. Cade watches her from the doorway. His jaw tightens. He has seen that breathing pattern before. He has seen that stillness. He has seen operators who absorb punishment without breaking, who calculate rather than react, who wait. He has never seen it in a temporary instructor assigned to run basic defensive techniques. His phone buzzes. He glances at the screen, then back at the woman on the mat. Something cold settles in his stomach. He knows that face. He cannot place it, but he knows it. She just got choked unconscious in front of the entire team. But the last words she whispered? They're going to haunt everyone in this room. If you want to see what happens when they finally understand who she really is, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Jonas finally approaches the mat with a medical kit. He kneels beside Arya, checks her pulse, and makes a note on his pad. She's fine, he announces, just a little rattled. Happens to new instructors. Arya sits up slowly. Red marks bloom across her throat where Dalton's arm compressed her tissue. She does not speak, does not complain. Simply rises to her feet, retrieves her water bottle from the edge of the mat, and takes a measured sip. Dalton watches her with a mixture of satisfaction and something else, something that looks almost like unease. Her whispered words echo in his memory. Don't forget who I am. What the hell did that mean? He shakes it off. She's nobody. A placeholder instructor sent to fill a gap in the training schedule. Tomorrow she'll request a transfer and he'll never see her again. The session ends without further incident. Operators file out, trading jokes about the yoga instructor and her failed demonstration. Knox shares the video to a private group chat before he even reaches the locker room. Within minutes, it has 30 views. Within an hour, it will have 300. Arya gathers her gear in silence. She does not make eye contact with anyone, does not seek sympathy or acknowledgement. She simply packs her bag, slings it over her shoulder, and walks toward the exit. Cade intercepts her at the door. Instructor. His voice is low, controlled. A word. Arya stops. She turns to face him, and for the first time, Cade sees her eyes clearly. They are calm. Too calm. The eyes of someone who just experienced humiliation and violence should hold anger, shame, fear. Hers hold none of these. They hold patience. Commander. Cade studies her for a long moment. The bruises on her throat are already darkening. They will be vivid by morning. That was excessive, he says finally. I'll speak to Sergeant Pierce. That won't be necessary. It wasn't a suggestion. Arya adjusts the strap of her bag. With respect, Commander, speaking to him won't change anything. It might make it worse. Worse how? She does not answer immediately. Her gaze drifts past him, toward the training area where Dalton is holding court with a group of admirers, recounting his victory with expansive gestures. Some people need to believe they're untouchable, she says quietly, until they're not. Cade frowns. That sounds like a threat. It's an observation. Arya meets his eyes again. I've seen men like him before. They don't respond to authority. They respond to consequences, and consequences take time. Before Cade can respond, she walks past him and out the door. He watches her go, that cold feeling in his stomach growing heavier. He pulls out his phone and opens a secure database. His fingers hover over the search field for a moment before he types, Arya Locke. The results load. Cade's face goes pale. The video spreads through the base like fire through dry grass. By dinner, every operator in the compound has seen the temporary instructor get choked out by Sergeant Pierce. The comments range from cruel to dismissive. Yoga instructor gets reality check. Maybe she should teach breathing exercises instead. Who approved this woman for SEAL training? Knox monitors the engagement with satisfaction. He adds captions to the video, highlighting the moment Arya taps out and Dalton refuses to release. He titles it, When They Send a Girl to Train Warriors. The video reaches 400 views by 8 p.m. Arya eats alone in the corner of the dining facility. The bruises on her throat have fully developed, purple and black against her skin. She makes no attempt to hide them. Operators walk past her table, some laughing, others simply avoiding eye contact. A few mutter insults just loud enough for her to hear. Yoga instructor. Waste of space. Shouldn't even be here. She eats her meal in measured bites, drinks her water, checks her watch. Her expression never changes. At the table across the room, Dalton holds court. He recounts the sparring match for the 5th time, each retelling adding new embellishments. She went down like a sack of potatoes. I barely squeezed. Maybe next time they'll send someone who can actually fight. Jonas sits beside him, nodding along, occasionally adding medical commentary about how some people just can't handle pressure. Knox refreshes the video's view count and announces each milestone like a trophy. 500. We're going viral, boys. Only Commander Cade is absent from the celebration. He sits in his office, staring at the file on his screen. The file he found in the secure database. The file that has been classified for 3 years. Lieutenant Commander Arya Locke. Call sign, Iron Pulse. The file contains commendations that Cade has only heard rumors about. Operations that officially never happened. A unit designation that makes his blood run cold. And a note at the bottom, flagged in red. 8 casualties. Operation Kylo Serpent, sole survivor. Investigation ongoing. Cade reads the note 3 times. Then he reads the addendum, added 6 months after the original file. Subject reassigned. Cover identity established. Monitoring continues. He closes the file, sits back in his chair, stares at the ceiling. The woman who just got choked unconscious in his training facility is not a temporary instructor. She is not a yoga teacher. She is not a placeholder. She is one of the most decorated special operations officers he has ever seen, and someone has gone to extraordinary lengths to hide her. Why? The next morning, Arya reports to the medical bay for a mandatory post-incident evaluation. Jonas greets her with a clipboard and a smile that does not reach his eyes. Just a formality, he says, gesturing to the examination table. After yesterday's training incident, we need to document any injuries. Arya sits on the table. She does not remove her jacket, despite the warmth of the room. Jonas makes a show of checking her vitals, blood pressure, heart rate, pupil response. He notes everything on his clipboard with exaggerated care. Any difficulty breathing? No. Headaches? Dizziness? Blurred vision? No. Any pre-existing conditions I should know about? No. Jonas sets down his pen. He looks at her with something that resembles concern but feels like calculation. The bruising on your throat is significant. I'm recommending you be removed from physical training duties until it heals, for your own safety. Arya's expression does not change. That's not necessary. It's protocol. Jonas smiles again. We take care of our people here, instructor, even the temporary ones. He makes another note on his clipboard. Arya watches his pen move across the paper. She cannot see what he writes, but she notices the way his hand pauses, the slight hesitation before he continues.
You were the MVP out there.
I'll file this report with command, Jonas says. You should receive the official notification within the hour. Light duties only. No sparring, no range time, no obstacle courses. He pauses. Maybe you can teach some classroom sessions. Knot tying, map reading, something appropriate. Arya stands. She gathers her belongings without hurry. Thank you for your concern, Corman. Just doing my job. She walks to the door, then stops, turns back. One question. Jonas looks up from his clipboard. Yes? When you write your report, will you mention that Sergeant Pierce continued the choke after I tapped out, or will you focus on my injuries? Jonas's smile freezes. The report will reflect what happened, he says carefully. A training exercise that got slightly out of hand. No permanent damage, no misconduct. No misconduct. Arya repeats the words like she is tasting them. I see. She leaves without another word. Jonas watches the door close behind her, then reaches for his phone. He pulls up Knox's number and types a quick message. She's asking questions. Handle it. The response comes immediately. Already on it. Check the training schedule. Jonas smiles. He opens his computer and begins typing the medical report. By the time he finishes, there is no mention of excessive force, no reference to ignored tap-outs, no documentation of the verbal abuse that preceded the physical assault. According to the official record, Arya Locke sustained minor bruising during a routine training exercise. The prognosis is full recovery. The recommendation is light duties for 1 week. The truth is buried before lunch. Arya discovers her range time has been canceled when she arrives at the armory to check out a weapon. Sorry, instructor. The armory sergeant shrugs without meeting her eyes. Orders came through this morning. You're not cleared for live fire exercises. Who issued the order? Medical. Something about your condition. He gestures vaguely toward his throat. Can't have you operating weapons if you're injured. Safety protocol. Arya stares at him for a long moment. The armory sergeant shifts uncomfortably under her gaze. I'll need to see the documentation. It's in the system. Take it up with medical if you've got a problem. She does not argue, does not raise her voice. simply nods once and walks away. Outside the armory, the sun beats down on the compound with brutal intensity. Operators move between buildings, some acknowledging her with sneers, others pretending she does not exist. The video has transformed her from an unknown temporary instructor into a punchline. Knox intercepts her near the motor pool. He is flanked by two other operators, both grinning. "Hey, yoga instructor, heard you got benched. Tough break." Arya stops walking. She faces him with the same neutral expression she has worn since yesterday. "Lieutenant Knox." "That's me." He holds up his phone, screen facing her. The video plays on a loop. Dalton choking her, her body going limp, the crowd cheering. "You're famous now. Everyone's seen it. The guys are calling you tap out. You know, because you tapped and it didn't matter?" The operators beside him laugh. Arya watches the video play through once, twice. Her expression does not change. "Is there something you need, Lieutenant?" Knox's grin falters slightly. He expected embarrassment, tears, anger, anything but this absolute stillness. "Just wanted to make sure you're okay," he says, recovering. "You know, after your big defeat. Some people have trouble bouncing back from humiliation like that. Wouldn't want you to do anything extreme. I appreciate your concern." "No problem." He pockets his phone. "Oh, and word of advice? Maybe request that transfer sooner rather than later. The guys are talking about making the next sparring session even more educational." He walks past her, close enough that his shoulder brushes hers. A deliberate provocation. Arya does not react. She stands in the sun, watching him go, her face utterly unreadable. But her hands, hidden at her sides, have curled into fists. The tape around her knuckles is stained with old sweat.
Tell
The
me where he
bruises
went,
on
or
her
I
throat
swear I
throb
will.
with each heartbeat. She waits until Knox disappears around a corner. Then she resumes walking. There is a maintenance shed at the far edge of the compound, rarely used, overlooked by most personnel. Arya enters through the side door and closes it behind her. The interior is dim and cool, filled with the smell of motor oil and dust. She sits on an overturned crate, takes a slow breath. 4 counts in. Hold. 4 counts out. Hold. From her pocket, she removes a small object, a challenge coin, worn smooth by years of handling. The insignia on its face has been partially obscured, but the numbers along the edge remain visible, a serial code that matches nothing in any public database. She holds the coin in her palm, staring at it without really seeing it. Memories surface unbidden. Voices, faces, the sound of gunfire and the smell of smoke. 8 names, 8 people who trusted her, 8 graves scattered across 3 continents. Her jaw tightens. She returns the coin to her pocket and stands. When she emerges from the shed, her expression is the same neutral mask she has worn since arriving at this base. But something behind her eyes has shifted, something that looks almost like resolution. The dining facility buzzes with the usual evening noise when Cade finds Arya. She sits in the same corner as the night before, eating alone, ignored by everyone around her. He approaches without hesitation, pulls out the chair across from her, sits. Arya looks up. Her spoon pauses halfway to her mouth. "Commander, we need to talk." Cade keeps his voice low. "Not here. My office. 10 minutes." She studies his face for a moment. Whatever she sees there makes her set down her spoon. "All right." Cade stands. He walks out of the dining facility without looking back. Arya finishes her meal in 3 efficient bites, drinks the rest of her water, and follows. His office is small and functional, dominated by a desk covered in paperwork and a computer screen displaying the Seal Trident screensaver. Cade closes the door behind Arya and gestures to a chair. "Sit." She remains standing. Cade sighs. He moves behind his desk, but does not sit either. "I ran your name through the database," he says bluntly. "The restricted one. The one that requires 3 levels of clearance to access." Arya's expression does not change. And I found things that shouldn't exist. Operations that officially never happened. Commendations that were never awarded. A unit designation that I've only heard whispered about in briefings so classified they don't even have names. He pauses. "Iron Pulse. That's you." Silence fills the office. Arya holds Cade's gaze without blinking. "That was a long time ago." 3 years is not a long time. Cade leans forward, palms flat on his desk. "You're not a temporary instructor. You're not here to teach defensive techniques to operators who already know them. So what are you really doing in my compound?" Arya is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is steady. I was assigned here by people above both our pay grades. The cover identity was their idea, not mine. I'm supposed to observe, assess, and report. Observe what? Assess who? That's classified. Cade's jaw tightens. Don't play games with me, Commander. I just watched one of my sergeants choke you unconscious while his buddies filmed it for entertainment. I watched my corpsman write a false medical report to cover it up. I watched my lieutenant distribute that video across the entire base to humiliate you. He straightens. Whatever you're here to observe, I'd say you found it. Arya's eyes flicker, the first sign of emotion since she entered the office. You saw the report Jonas filed? I pulled it an hour ago. It's fiction. No mention of excessive force, no documentation of the tap-out being ignored, no reference to the verbal harassment. Cade's voice hardens. He's covering for Pierce. They all are. Yes. And you're not surprised. No. Cade stares at her. The silence stretches until it becomes uncomfortable. I know about Operation Kilo Serpent, he says finally. I know about the 8 casualties. I know you were the sole survivor and that the investigation was never closed. He pauses. I know someone set you up. Arya's hands, which have been relaxed at her sides, suddenly clench. Her knuckles go white. You know the official version. Then tell me the real one. She is quiet for a long time. Her gaze drifts to the window where the sun is setting over the compound in shades of orange and red. 3 years ago, my unit was deployed on a capture operation. High-value target. Intel said he was isolated, minimal security, easy extraction. Her voice remains flat, clinical. The intel was wrong, or it was fabricated. We walked into an ambush. 12 of us went in, 4 made it to the extraction point. I was the only one who made it out alive. And the investigation? Concluded that I made tactical errors that led to the deaths of my team. I was stripped of my command, reassigned to administrative duties, and told to stay quiet. Her jaw tightens. But I didn't make those errors. Someone fed us bad intel. Someone wanted that operation to fail. Someone wanted my unit dead. Cade absorbs this in silence. And you think that someone is here, on this base? I think there's a connection here. People who know things they shouldn't. People who have access to channels that should be sealed. She turns back to face him. I came here to find them. To prove what really happened. To get justice for my team. By letting yourself get beaten and humiliated? By watching. By waiting. By letting the guilty reveal themselves. Her expression hardens. Men like Pierce don't operate alone. They have protectors, enablers, systems that keep them untouchable. I need to see the whole network before I can dismantle it. Cade is silent for a long moment. Then he opens a drawer in his desk and pulls out a folder. This came through secure channels an hour ago. He slides it across the desk. Read it. Arya opens the folder. Inside is a single sheet of paper with a classification header she recognizes. Her eyes scan the content, and her face goes very still. Spectre Helix, she murmurs. You know that name? It was a code name, used by someone in the intelligence chain during Kilo Serpent. We never identified who it belonged to. She looks up. Where did you get this? It was flagged in a communication intercept. Someone on this base used that code name in an encrypted transmission 3 days ago. Cade's voice drops. Someone here is connected to what happened to your unit. And based on what I just witnessed, I have a pretty good idea where to start looking. Arya closes the folder. Her hands are steady, but her eyes have changed. The patience is still there, but underneath it now burns something sharper, something colder. I need access to the base communication logs, personnel files, security footage. That's going to raise questions. Then find a way to do it quietly. She holds his gaze. You said you wanted to know what I'm really doing here. Now you know. The question is whether you're going to help me or get in my way. Dalton thought he was teaching her a lesson, but Arya just revealed she's been hunting a ghost for 3 years, a ghost that might be hiding right here on this base. What do you think? Who's really pulling the strings? Drop your theory in the comments below. The next morning, Arya receives a summons to the disciplinary hearing. The notification arrives at 0700, delivered by a nervous junior officer who refuses to meet her eyes. She reads it while standing outside the dormitory, the morning sun casting long shadows across the pavement. Subject: formal review of training incident. Date: today, 0900. Location: Administrative Building, Conference Room 3. Attendees: Sergeant Dalton Pierce, Lieutenant Avery Knox, Corpsman Jonas Reed, Commander Rowan Cade, Instructor Aria Locke. She folds the paper and slides it into her pocket. Her face betrays nothing. At 0845, she walks into conference room 3. The room is small and sterile, dominated by a rectangular table surrounded by uncomfortable chairs. Dalton already sits at one end, flanked by Knox and Jonas. His posture is relaxed, almost bored. A man who expects this hearing to be nothing more than a formality. Cade sits at the head of the table, a stack of files in front of him. His expression is unreadable. Aria takes the chair at the opposite end from Dalton. She folds her hands on the table and waits. Let's begin. Cade opens the top file. This hearing has been convened to review the events of 2 days ago during a defensive training exercise. The complainant is Instructor Aria Locke. The respondent is Sergeant Dalton Pierce. Complainant, Dalton snorts. She's the one who got outclassed. Maybe the complaint should be about her wasting our time with amateur hour instruction. Knox chuckles. Jonas smiles thinly. Cade ignores the interruption. Instructor Locke, please describe what happened during the training session. Aria speaks without inflection. I was demonstrating defensive techniques against a larger opponent. Sergeant Pierce volunteered as my partner. During the exercise, he applied a rear naked choke. I signaled submission by tapping his arm 3 times. He did not release the hold. He maintained pressure until I lost consciousness. That's her version, Dalton interjects. My version is that she tapped late, I released as soon as I felt it, and she's exaggerating because she's embarrassed about getting handled. There's video, Aria says quietly. The room goes still. Excuse me? Cade leans forward. Lieutenant Knox recorded the incident on his phone. The footage shows the timeline clearly. I tapped at approximately 42 seconds into the hold. Sergeant Pierce did not release until approximately 58 seconds, at which point I was unconscious. Knox's face drains of color. He glances at Dalton, then at Jonas, then back at Aria. That video was private, he stammers. It was just for training review. Then you won't mind sharing it with this hearing. Aria's voice remains level. For training review purposes. Cade extends his hand toward Knox. Lieutenant, the phone. Knox hesitates. Dalton's jaw tightens. Jonas stares at the table. Now, Lieutenant. Knox hands over his phone. Cade navigates to the video and presses play. The conference room fills with the sounds of the sparring match, the cheering, the taunts. Aria's tap out, clear and unmistakable. Dalton's refusal to release. The crowd shouting, "Squeeze harder." Aria's body going limp. When the video ends, Cade sets down the phone. His expression has hardened into something dangerous. Sergeant Pierce, would you like to revise your account of what happened? Dalton's relaxed posture has vanished. He sits rigid in his chair, eyes fixed on the phone. It was training, he says through clenched teeth. Things get intense. She should have tapped sooner. The video shows her tapping at 42 seconds. You maintained the choke for another 16 seconds. Cade's voice is cold. That's not training. That's assault. It was sparring. Accidents happen. 16 seconds is not an accident. Dalton's hands clench into fists beneath the table. His eyes slide to Aria, and for the first time, there is something other than contempt in them. There is hatred. You think you're clever, he says softly, coming in here with your evidence, your timeline, your little ambush, but you don't know who you're dealing with. Aria meets his gaze without flinching. Actually, Sergeant, I think I do. The room falls silent. Cade looks between them, sensing something he does not fully understand. I remember Operation Quezon 12, Aria continues, her voice still level. March of 2 years ago. Your unit was tasked with clearing a village suspected of harboring insurgents. You were point man for the 2nd Fire Team. Dalton goes very still. I don't know what you're talking about. You encountered resistance at the 3rd structure, took fire from multiple directions. Your team leader ordered a tactical withdrawal. Aria pauses. But you didn't withdraw with your team. You broke off, ran for the extraction point alone, left your teammates pinned down under enemy fire. Knox stares at Dalton. Jonas's mouth has fallen open. Even Cade looks shocked. That's a lie, Dalton snarls. That never happened. 3 of your teammates were wounded covering your retreat. 1 died before the medevac arrived. The after-action report was classified and buried. Aria's eyes never leave his face. But I've read it. I know what you did. I know who you really are. Dalton lunges across the table. Cade is fast, but Aria is faster. She shifts her weight, catches Dalton's wrist, and redirects his momentum with a fluid motion that sends him crashing into the wall beside her. The entire movement takes less than 2 seconds. Clinical, precise. The response of someone who has neutralized threats in far more dangerous situations than a conference room. Dalton slides to the floor, gasping. Arya stands over him, her grip still locked on his wrist, bending it at an angle that must be agonizing. "I could break this," she says quietly. "I won't. Because unlike you, I know the difference between training and assault." She releases him, steps back, returns to her seat as if nothing happened. Cade stares at her. Knox and Jonas stare at her. Even Dalton, climbing painfully to his feet, stares at her with something new in his eyes. Fear. "This hearing is suspended," Cade announces, his voice tight. "Sergeant Pierce, you are confined to quarters pending a full investigation. Lieutenant Knox, Corpsman Reed, you will both surrender your electronic devices and submit to interviews. No one in this room speaks to anyone about what just happened until I say otherwise." He gathers his files and stands. "Instructor Locke, my office, now." Arya follows him out without looking back. Cade's office door slams shut behind them. "What was that?" He rounds on her, face flushed. "What did you just do?" "I defended myself." "You practically accused him of dereliction of duty that resulted in a death, in front of witnesses, during an official hearing." "I stated facts. Facts that are classified. Facts that could get both of us court-martialed." Cade runs a hand through his hair. "This was supposed to be a simple disciplinary review. Now it's going to become a firestorm." Arya stands in the center of his office, unmoved by his agitation. Dalton Pierce has been protected for 2 years because no one was willing to connect the dots. The same people who buried the K-Son-12 report are the same people who allowed him to nearly kill me in a training exercise. The same people who falsified medical documents to cover it up. She meets his eyes. "This was never going to stay simple, Commander. The only question was how much you were willing to see." Cade is silent for a long moment. The anger drains from his face, replaced by something that looks almost like exhaustion. "They're going to come after you. Pierce's friends, his protectors. Whoever's behind this Spectre Helix codename." He shakes his head. "You painted a target on your back." "I was already a target. Now at least I know who's aiming." Cade sinks into his chair. He stares at the files on his desk, then at the woman standing before him. "Iron Pulse," he murmurs. "They really did bury you." "They tried." Arya's voice is quiet but carries an edge of steel. "They failed." A knock interrupts them. Cade calls for entry and a junior officer steps inside with a tablet. "Sir, you need to see this. The base network just flagged an encrypted transmission. Same signature as the one from 3 days ago." Cade takes the tablet. His face darkens as he reads. "Spectre Helix active," he reads aloud. "Package compromised. Initiate containment protocol." He looks up at Arya. "This was sent from inside the base, 15 minutes ago." Arya's expression does not change, but her posture shifts almost imperceptibly. The stillness of someone preparing for action. They know the hearing didn't go their way. They're moving to cover their tracks. Or eliminate witnesses. "Yes." Cade sets down the tablet. He meets her eyes with new resolve. "What do you need?" "Access to the communication logs, security footage from the last 72 hours, and authorization to carry a sidearm." She pauses. "Someone on this base killed my team 3 years ago. Someone on this base just sent a containment order. I'm done waiting for them to reveal themselves." Cade is quiet for a long moment. Then he opens his desk drawer and pulls out a keycard. "Communication center. Full access. Tell them I sent you." Arya takes the card. "And the sidearm?" Cade reaches into another drawer, pulls out a Glock 19, checks the chamber, hands it to her grip first. "Don't make me regret this." Arya takes the weapon, checks it with movements so practiced they border on automatic, slides it into her waistband. "Commander, the people who killed my team have been operating in the shadows for 3 years. They've corrupted investigations, buried evidence, destroyed careers." She moves toward the door. "By the time this is over, you won't regret anything." She opens the door. "Except maybe the paperwork." The door closes behind her. Cade sits alone in his office, staring at the empty chair where she had been. Outside, the sun has fully risen, flooding the compound with harsh light. Somewhere on this base, Spectre Helix is scrambling to cover their tracks. Somewhere on this base, Dalton Pierce is realizing that the woman he tried to humiliate is far more dangerous than he ever imagined. And somewhere on this base, the ghosts of 8 dead operators are about to get their justice. The hunt has begun. The communications center hums with the low drone of servers and cooling fans. Banks of monitors cast pale blue light across the room, illuminating rows of workstations manned by technicians who barely glance up when Arya enters. She presents Cade's keycard to the duty officer. He scans it, raises an eyebrow at the clearance level, and waves her through without question. Arya settles into an empty terminal and begins pulling files. Communication logs from the past 72 hours. Security footage from every camera on base. Personnel records for Pierce, Knox, and Reed. The data streams across her screen in columns of text and timestamps. She works through it methodically, flagging anomalies, cross-referencing patterns. An hour passes, then 2, and then she finds it. The video Knox recorded during the sparring match. She has seen it before, watched herself get choked unconscious while a crowd cheered. But this time, she is not watching herself. She is watching Dalton. Specifically, she is watching his left wrist. She freezes the frame, zooms in, enhances. There, partially hidden beneath his sleeve, a device no larger than a watch face, strapped tight against his skin. Not standard issue, not authorized equipment. Arya runs the image through the database. The search takes 43 seconds. The result makes her blood run cold. The device is a short-range transmitter. Military grade, encrypted frequency. The same frequency that appeared in intercepted communications during Operation Hollow Mirror, a classified incident that occurred 18 months before Kilo Serpent. Arya stares at the screen. Her mind races through connections she had not seen before. Dalton was not just trying to humiliate her during that sparring match. He was not even trying to injure her. He was transmitting something, using the physical contact to mask a signal broadcast. But to whom? And why? She pulls the communication logs from the moment of the sparring match. Cross-references the transmitter frequency. There. A burst transmission. 0.3 seconds, sent at the exact moment Dalton tightened his choke. The destination is scrambled, routed through 17 proxy servers. But the signature is unmistakable. Spectre Helix. Arya leans back in her chair. The pieces are falling into place, but the picture they form is darker than she anticipated. Dalton is not the mastermind. He is a tool, a weapon pointed at her by someone else. Someone who knew she would be assigned to this base. Someone who wanted her monitored, tested, provoked. Someone who wanted to see how she would react. Her phone buzzes. A message from Cade. Command center. Now. Emergency. Arya saves her findings to an encrypted drive, pockets it, moves. The command center is chaos when she arrives. Operators sprint between stations, shouting coordinates and status updates. Alarms flash red across multiple screens. Cade stands at the central table, surrounded by senior staff, his face grim. Report, he barks as Arya approaches. Unknown drone incursion. Multiple contacts approaching from the north. Our defensive systems are offline. A technician's voice cracks with stress. Someone hacked the perimeter network. We're blind. Get the backup systems running. We're trying, sir. The backup is compromised too. It's like they knew exactly where to hit us. Cade's jaw tightens. He turns to Arya. This is them. Spectre Helix. Yes. Arya studies the tactical display. Red dots marking incoming threats. Blue dots marking defensive positions that cannot respond. They're not trying to destroy the base. This is a distraction. A distraction from what? From whoever they're trying to extract. Arya's eyes scan the room. Where are Pierce, Knox, and Reed? Cade's face darkens. He grabs a radio. Security, confirm status of Sergeant Pierce. He should be confined to quarters. Static. Then a voice. Sir, Pierce's quarters are empty. Guard is unconscious. No sign of the sergeant. Knox and Reed? Also missing, sir. Last seen heading toward the motor pool 20 minutes ago. Arya is already moving toward the door. They're running. The drone attack is cover for their escape. Cade follows her. Where would they go? Somewhere with extraction capability. Somewhere their handler can reach them. She pushes through the door into the night. The sky above is lit by distant flashes as defensive positions attempt manual intercepts of the incoming drones. The old supply depot, east side of the base, it has a helipad that's been decommissioned but still functional. How do you know that? Because it's where I would go. They run. The supply depot looms against the night sky, a cluster of corrugated metal buildings that have not seen official use in years. The helipad behind it is dark, but Arya can hear the distant thrum of rotors approaching. She signals Cade to hold position at the perimeter. He nods, drawing his sidearm. She moves forward alone, slipping between shadows with the practiced silence of someone who has done this countless times before. Inside the largest building, voices echo off metal walls. "The chopper's 2 minutes out. We need to move." Knox's voice, high and tight with fear. "I told you this was a mistake. Jonas. We should have handled her quietly. Now the whole base is on alert. Shut up, both of you." Dalton. But his voice sounds different, strained, almost desperate. None of this was supposed to happen. She was supposed to break, request a transfer, disappear. Well, she didn't break, did she? Knox again. She played us, made us look like fools in that hearing, and now Spectre Helix is cleaning house. They're not cleaning house. They're extracting assets. Dalton's voice drops. Us. We're the assets. And once we're on that chopper, we're never coming back. Arya steps into the light. Then maybe you shouldn't get on the chopper. 3 weapons swing toward her. Knox and Jonas hold standard sidearms. Dalton grips his with white-knuckled intensity, but his aim wavers. Lock. He spits her name like a curse. You just don't know when to quit. Funny, I was about to say the same thing about you. She stands in the center of the depot, hands visible at her sides. The Glock Cade gave her rests in her waistband, but she makes no move toward it. You're not a traitor, Dalton. Not really. You're a coward who made bad choices because someone threatened people you care about, your family, your career, your life. She takes a step forward. But the person who made those threats is the real enemy. And right now that person is about to abandon you. Dalton's gun trembles. You don't know anything. I know Spectre Helix used you to transmit my location during Kilo Serpent. I know your little wrist device sent a signal during our sparring match. I know someone has been feeding you orders for years, and you've been too scared to refuse. Knox glances at Dalton. What is she talking about? What device? Shut up, Knox. No. Arya takes another step. Tell him. Tell him who's really been giving the orders. Tell him why you ran at Kaysan. Tell him why 8 of my people died in an ambush that should never have happened. Dalton's face contorts. Fear and rage battle for dominance.
Tell me where he went, or I swear I will.
It wasn't supposed to be like this, he says, his voice cracking. They said no one would get hurt. They said it was just intelligence, monitoring threats, identifying assets. Who is they, Dalton? I don't... He falters. I don't know her real name. She uses the code name, Spectre Helix. She's military, high rank, someone who knows how to make problems disappear. Someone who was my mentor, Arya says quietly. Dalton's eyes widen. You know. I suspected. Now I'm certain. Arya's voice hardens. Colonel Helena Ward, Pentagon liaison. She recruited me 15 years ago, trained me, promoted me, and when I got too close to something she was hiding, she burned my entire unit to cover her tracks. The depot falls silent except for the growing thunder of helicopter rotors. Knox lowers his weapon slowly. This is insane. Colonel Ward? She's untouchable. She's got connections at every level. Connections built on bodies. Arya meets his eyes. Your bodies, if you get on that helicopter. You think she's extracting you? She's eliminating loose ends. You know too much. You've seen too much. The moment you're airborne, you become acceptable losses. Jonas drops his gun. It clatters against the concrete floor. I'm not dying for this, he says, voice shaking. I'm not dying for her. Knox follows suit. His weapon hits the ground and he steps back, hands raised. Only Dalton remains armed. His gun points at Arya, but his aim has gone completely unstable. She has my family, he whispers. My wife, my daughter. She said if I ever talked, if I ever stopped cooperating. I know. Arya's voice softens, just slightly. But running won't protect them. If Ward wanted them dead, they'd already be dead. She kept them alive as leverage. As long as you're useful, they're safe. And now? Now you have a choice. Get on that helicopter and become a ghost. Or stay here, tell me everything you know, and help me take her down. The rotors are deafening now. Through the gaps in the depot walls, Arya can see the helicopter descending toward the helipad. Military markings, blacked out windows. Dalton stares at her, then at the helicopter, then back at her. His gun lowers. She's on that chopper, he says hoarsely. Ward. She came herself. Said she wanted to make sure the job was done right. Arya's expression does not change, but something cold ignites behind her eyes. Stay here. All three of you. Commander Cade will secure you. She moves toward the rear door of the depot. Lock. Dalton's voice stops her. She's not going to surrender. She's too far in. Too much blood on her hands. Arya pauses at the threshold. Good. Neither am I. She disappears into the night. The helicopter touches down on the cracked concrete of the helipad. Its rotors continue spinning, ready for immediate departure. Arya approaches from the shadows, staying low, using the derelict structures for cover. The side door of the helicopter slides open, and a figure emerges. Colonel Helena Ward. She wears civilian clothes, a tactical vest, and an expression of absolute control. Her silver hair is pulled back severely. Her eyes scan the depot with a practiced assessment of someone who has orchestrated dozens of operations just like this one. Dalton, her voice carries over the rotor noise. Knox, Reed, we're leaving, now. Arya steps into the light. They're not coming. Ward freezes. For a fraction of a second, something flickers across her face. Surprise, recognition. Then the mask returns, and she smiles. Arya, I should have known you wouldn't stay down. You should have known a lot of things. Arya stops 10 feet from the helicopter. Like the fact that your encrypted communications aren't as secure as you think, or that Dalton's transmitter has been logging every signal for the past 6 months. Ward's smile falters. You're bluffing. Am I? Arya holds up the encrypted drive. Every order you gave, every asset you burned, every operation you compromised, it's all here, including the real intel package for Kilo Serpent, the one that showed our ambush was guaranteed before we ever left the wire. Ward's hand moves toward her sidearm. I wouldn't. Arya's voice turns to steel. I've already transmitted copies to 3 separate oversight agencies. If I don't check in within the next 30 minutes, they go public. You're lying. Try me. The two women face each other across the helipad. Behind them, the depot doors burst open and Cade emerges with a security team. They fan out, weapons trained on the helicopter and its occupant. Ward assesses the situation with cold calculation. Outnumbered, outmaneuvered, her escape route blocked. You think this changes anything? Her voice turns venomous. I built networks that span 3 continents. I have assets in every agency, every command structure, every oversight board. Arrest me and 10 more will take my place. Maybe. Arya takes a step closer. But they won't have you. And right now, that's enough. Ward moves. She is fast. Faster than someone her age should be. Her hand closes on her sidearm and draws in a single fluid motion. Arya is faster. She closes the distance in 2 strides, catches Ward's wrist before the gun clears the holster and twists. The weapon falls. Arya spins her around, locks her arm behind her back, and drives her to her knees. Ward struggles. Arya applies pressure. The older woman gasps in pain. You know what's ironic? Arya speaks quietly, close to Ward's ear. The choke Dalton used on me, the one you ordered him to apply, I spent 3 years learning how to counter it, how to survive it, how to use it. She shifts her grip. Her arm wraps around Ward's throat in a perfect recreation of the hold that nearly killed her 2 days ago. I could end this right now. No one would blame me. Self-defense against a traitor who killed 8 of my people. Ward goes very still. But I'm not you. Arya releases the choke, maintains the arm lock but eases the pressure. I don't eliminate problems. I expose them. And you, Colonel, are about to become the most exposed problem in military history. Cade approaches with restraints. Arya transfers custody without ceremony. Colonel Helena Ward, you are under arrest for espionage, conspiracy to commit murder, and treason against the United States. Cade's voice carries the weight of absolute authority. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be documented and used against you in military tribunal. Ward laughs, a bitter, broken sound. You think tribunals scare me? I've survived worse than military justice. You've survived because no one was willing to dig deep enough. Arya steps back as the security team takes over. Those days are over. Ward is led toward a waiting transport vehicle. She turns her head for one last look at Arya. This isn't finished, Iron Pulse. Spectre Helix is bigger than one person, bigger than one operation. You've cut off a head. The body will grow another. Then I'll cut that one off too. Arya meets her gaze without flinching. As many times as it takes. Ward is loaded into the vehicle, the doors close. The helicopter powers down, its pilot surrendering without resistance. From the woman who got choked unconscious to the woman who brought down a colonel. This is what happens when they underestimate the wrong person. If you want to see more stories like this, hit that share button and turn on notifications. The next chapter is coming. The aftermath unfolds with the methodical precision of military procedure. Dalton Pierce is placed under protective custody pending a full debriefing. His cooperation in exposing Ward's network earns him consideration, though not absolution. He will face administrative discipline for his role in the harassment and his years of compromise. Knox and Reed are processed separately. Their devices are confiscated. Their accounts are frozen. Their security clearances are revoked pending investigation. In the days that follow, the base transforms. A formal review board convenes to examine the failures that allowed Ward's network to operate undetected. The falsified medical report Jonas filed is entered into evidence. The video Knox recorded is preserved as documentation of a hostile command climate. Every operator who participated in the harassment is identified and scheduled for retraining. New protocols emerge. An anonymous reporting channel for misconduct and abuse. Mandatory training on recognition and prevention of workplace violence. A complete audit of security clearances, with emphasis on identifying compromised personnel. The changes ripple outward from the base to regional command to national oversight. Arya observes all of this from a distance. She attends the briefings, provides testimony, answers questions with the same measured precision she has maintained since the beginning, but she does not celebrate. On the fourth day after Ward's arrest, Cade finds her at the shooting range. It is 0600. The range is empty except for her. She stands at lane 7, loading magazines with mechanical efficiency. Couldn't sleep? Arya does not turn. I don't sleep much anymore. Cade moves to the lane beside her. He does not draw a weapon, just leans against the divider and watches. The investigation is expanding. Ward's network goes deeper than anyone anticipated. We've identified connections to 6 other bases, 3 intelligence agencies, and at least 2 defense contractors. I know. They're talking about convening a special tribunal, joint military and civilian oversight. First of its kind in 20 years. I know. Cade is quiet for a moment. You should be proud of what you accomplished. 8 people died because of her. Justice is finally happening. Arya sets down her magazine, turns to face him. 8 people died because I trusted her. I followed her orders. I led my team into an ambush because I believed the intel she provided. Her voice remains level, but her eyes carry weight. Justice for them means more than one arrest. It means making sure this never happens again. That's what the reforms are for. Reforms can be rolled back. Policies can be revised. People forget. She picks up the magazine again, resumes loading. The only thing that lasts is accountability. Real consequences for real failures. Not just for Ward, but for everyone who enabled her. Everyone who looked the other way. Everyone who decided that silence was easier than truth. Cade absorbs this in silence. The brass wants to offer you a commendation, formal recognition of your actions in exposing the network. I don't want a commendation. What do you want? Arya finishes loading, racks the slide, takes aim at the target downrange. I want the names of everyone Inspector Helix's network. I want access to the full investigation files. I want authorization to continue the hunt. She fires. 3 rounds, center mass. Ward was right about one thing. This is bigger than one person. Cut off the head, and the body grows another. You want to become a permanent hunter? I want to finish what I started. Cade considers this. The range echoes with the aftermath of her shots. That's a long road, dangerous, lonely. I've walked longer roads. Arya lowers her weapon. And I stopped being afraid of lonely a long time ago. She turns to face him fully. For the first time since the sparring match, something in her expression shifts. Not warmth exactly, but acknowledgement. You helped me when you didn't have to. You gave me access when it would have been easier to look away. That matters. Cade nods slowly. You reminded me why I put on this uniform in the first place. That matters too. They stand in silence for a moment. 2 officers who have seen behind the curtain and chosen to fight what they found there. The tactical debrief is at 0900, Cade says finally. Pentagon liaison is flying in. They want your full report. I'll be there. He starts to leave, then pauses. Arya, the things you said to Dalton, about his family being leverage. Cade's voice drops. His wife and daughter are being moved to protective custody today. Just thought you should know. Arya nods once. Thank you. Cade leaves. The range falls silent except for the hum of ventilation. Arya stands alone. She looks at the target downrange, 3 holes clustered tight in the center. Then she holsters her weapon and walks toward the exit. Outside, the sky is beginning to lighten. Shades of orange and pink streak across the horizon. She stops at the edge of the range and watches the sun rise over the compound. Somewhere in a holding facility, Helena Ward is beginning to realize that her empire is crumbling. Somewhere in protective custody, Dalton Pierce is deciding what kind of man he wants to be. Somewhere in the vast machinery of military justice, the wheels are turning toward accountability. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the rest of Spectre Helix waits. Arya reaches into her pocket and pulls out the challenge coin. She runs her thumb across the worn insignia. 8 names engraved on the edge. 8 lives that deserved better. We're getting there, she murmurs. Slowly, but we're getting there. She returns the coin to her pocket and begins walking toward the administrative building. The debrief is at 0900. There will be questions, reports, political maneuvering. But beneath all of it, the truth is finally emerging. And for the first time in 3 years, Arya Locke feels something that might be hope. The dining facility is different now. When Arya enters for breakfast, the room does not fall into mocking whispers. Operators glance up from their meals, but their expressions have changed. Some nod in acknowledgement, others simply return to their food. The hostility has been replaced by something more complex. Respect, perhaps. She takes her usual seat in the corner, eats in measured bites. A shadow falls across her table. She looks up. Dalton Pierce stands before her. His face is gaunt from 4 days of interrogation and sleepless nights. He wears civilian clothes now, his uniforms confiscated. His eyes, which once held contempt, now hold something far more difficult to read. May I? He gestures to the chair across from her. Arya considers for a moment, then nods. Dalton sits. I've been authorized to speak with you before transport. I wanted... He pauses, swallows. I wanted to say something. Arya waits. 3 years ago, Ward approached me after Khe-Sanh. She knew what I'd done. She knew I'd run. She had the after-action report, the witness statements, everything that could end my career. His voice is barely above a whisper. She offered me a choice. Work for her, or face court-martial for cowardice that resulted in a death. So you chose survival. I chose fear. Dalton's hands clench on the table. I told myself it was for my family. But the truth is, I was just weak. Too weak to accept consequences. Too weak to face what I'd done. He looks up, meets her eyes. You weren't weak. In that sparring match when I was choking you, when the whole room was cheering for me to hurt you, you didn't break. You didn't beg. You just waited. He shakes his head. I've never seen anything like that. Arya sets down her fork. You want to know how I survived that moment? Yes. I thought about 8 names, 8 faces, 8 people who trusted me and died because I trusted the wrong person. Her voice is steady. Every breath I took in that sparring match, I took for them. You weren't choking me, Dalton. You were just another obstacle between me and the truth. And I've faced worse obstacles than you. Dalton is silent for a long moment. I'm going to cooperate fully with the investigation. Give them everything I know about Ward's network. Names, dates, methods, everything. He straightens slightly. It won't undo what I did, but maybe it can prevent someone else from making the same mistakes. Arya studies him. The broken man before her bears little resemblance to the swaggering bully who stood over her on the sparring mat. You hurt people, Dalton. You enabled systems that hurt even more people. That doesn't disappear because you feel sorry now. I know. But you have something Ward never did. A chance to choose differently. Arya pushes back from the table. What you do with that chance is up to you. She stands, gathers her tray. For what it's worth, I hope you choose well. She walks away without looking back. The Pentagon liaison arrives at 0845. A motorcade of black vehicles pulls through the main gate. Men and women in pressed uniforms emerge, clipboards and tablets in hand. Arya watches from the window of Cade's office. Ready? Cade asks. I've been ready for 3 years. The debrief convenes in the main conference room. Arya sits at one end of the table, facing a panel of officers and civilian advisors who represent the highest levels of military oversight. For 4 hours, she recounts everything: the ambush at Kilo Serpent, the falsified intel, the cover-up, her years of investigation, the events at this base, the discovery of Dalton's transmitter, the encrypted drive containing Ward's communications. She answers every question with precision, provides documentation for every claim, names names, cites dates, draws connections that span years and continents. When she finishes, the room is silent. The senior officer, a 3-star general with gray hair and a face carved by decades of command, sets down his pen. Commander Locke, what you've described represents one of the most significant security breaches in recent military history. The implications extend far beyond this base, beyond this branch of service, beyond even this country. Yes, sir. The investigation will take months, possibly years. Careers will end. There will be resistance from powerful quarters. I understand, sir. The general studies her for a long moment. What do you want, Commander? After everything you've been through, what outcome would satisfy you? Arya considers the question carefully. I want the 8 members of my unit to be remembered as heroes who were betrayed, not as casualties of tactical error. I want their families to know the truth. I want the systems that allowed this to happen to be dismantled and rebuilt. And I want to continue hunting the rest of Spectre Helix's network until every asset is exposed. That's a tall order. I have time. The general exchanges glances with his colleagues. Commander Locke, effective immediately, you are reinstated to full active duty with restoration of rank and security clearance. You are also assigned to a new joint task force dedicated to identifying and neutralizing compromised personnel within the defense establishment. Arya's expression does not change. The task force designation? Iron Pulse. The general almost smiles. I'm told you're familiar with the name. For the first time in days, something like warmth flickers in Arya's eyes. Yes, sir, I am. That evening, a ceremony is held in the base's memorial garden. It is a small gathering. Cade, a handful of officers who served with Arya before Kilo Serpent, representatives from oversight agencies, and in the front row, 8 empty chairs adorned with photos of the fallen. Arya stands before the memorial stone and reads their names aloud. Each name carries weight. Each name represents a life cut short, a family broken, a future erased. She speaks them clearly, allowing each to hang in the air before moving to the next. When she finishes, she places her challenge coin at the base of the stone. 3 years ago, I promised you that the truth would come out, that whoever betrayed us would face justice, that your deaths would not be meaningless. Her voice carries across the silent garden. Today, that promise begins to be fulfilled. Not completely, not yet. But the first stone has fallen, and the rest will follow. She steps back. The gathering observes a moment of silence. Then slowly, the ceremony concludes. People disperse. Cade approaches as the garden empties. The transport to DC leaves at 0700 tomorrow. You should get some rest. I will. Arya looks at the memorial stone. The coin glints in the fading light. After. Cade nods. He understands. He leaves her alone with the dead. The sun sets over the base. Arya stands in the memorial garden as darkness gathers. Stars emerge overhead, pinpricks of light in an endless sky. She remains there for a long time, thinking, remembering, planning. Tomorrow she will fly to Washington. She will testify before committees, review files, coordinate with agencies. The hunt for Spectre Helix's remaining network will consume months, possibly years, of her life. But tonight, she stands with her fallen team. A red flare arcs across the sky. Some training exercise in the distance. It hangs suspended for a moment, painting the clouds in shades of crimson before fading into darkness. Footsteps approach. Cade again. There's something you should see. He hands her a tablet. On the screen is an intercepted transmission, flagged by the newly reinforced security protocols. Spectre Helix network alert. Primary node compromised. Secondary nodes activating. Contingency protocol Epsilon. Message ends. Arya reads it twice. How many secondary nodes? Unknown, but the communication pattern suggests at least 3 more cells operating independently. She hands back the tablet. Then we have work to do. Cade studies her face. In the starlight, she looks neither tired nor triumphant. She looks ready. What's the plan, Commander? Arya turns toward the base. The lights of the compound glow against the night. Somewhere within those buildings, people are sleeping peacefully because they believe the threat has been neutralized. They are wrong, and Arya knows it. But she also knows something else. Something she has carried through 3 years of investigation, through humiliation and violence, through betrayal and loss. The truth is patient, justice is patient, and she is patient. First, we rest, then we analyze the transmission, identify the secondary nodes, map their connections. She begins walking toward the barracks. And then, Commander Cade, we hunt. Cade falls into step beside her. The brass isn't going to like an open-ended operation with no clear endpoint. The brass will learn to live with disappointment. Despite everything, Cade almost laughs. You know, when you first showed up here, I thought you were just another temporary instructor. And now? Now I think you might be the most dangerous person I've ever met. He pauses. And I mean that as a compliment. Arya stops at the entrance to the barracks. She turns to face him. Dangerous is relative, Commander. I'm dangerous to people who prey on the weak. I'm dangerous to systems that protect corruption. I'm dangerous to those who believe silence is the same as victory. She opens the door. To everyone else, I'm just a woman who doesn't forget. She steps inside. The door closes behind her. Tomorrow, the hunt continues. But tonight, for the first time in 3 years, Arya Locke sleeps without nightmares. In her dreams, 8 faces smile at her, not with reproach, not with sorrow, with something that looks almost like pride. And in the distance, a voice whispers, justice isn't loud, it's patient.
Every soldier carry a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.